Concise history of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, chapter 16.1a, Ghazwa Tabuk, Rajab 9th Hijrah. Romans were the greatest military force at that time. Arab tribes near Syrian border were under their influence and they followed their orders. After the Battle of Mu'tah, the Arab tribes were impressed by the Muslims and tried to make friendly relations with the emerging Muslim power. And they ignored the Romans. Romans were aware of this. Hence, the Romans intended to crush the growing influence of Muslims. Romans and their Ghassan Christian friends gathered a huge army to launch a decisive battle against the Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims received this news through trade caravans. Hence, they expected an attack by the Romans any time. The state of mind of Muslims at that time will be described by a narration by Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu. It is given in Bukhari that Umar radiyallahu anhu narrates, I had a close friend from Ansar as my neighbor. We used to share news from the Prophet ﷺ with each other when one of us was not present there. One day, my friend knocked at my door repeatedly and said, open it, open it. I opened the door and asked, has the Romans arrived? He said, no, it is greater and more serious. The Messenger of Allah has divorced his wives. This is in Bukhari. By way of explanation, please note that the Prophet ﷺ took an oath to stay away from his wives for 1 month and stayed in a private room. Such oath for a period of less than 4 months has no effect on the marriage. If it is for 4 months or more, then it will legally affect the marriage relation between them. It is mentioned in the Battle of Mu'tah that the Christian Ghassani governor Shurahabil bin Amr killed Haris bin Umair radiyallahu anhu, the ambassador of the Prophet ﷺ, which is an international crime for all times and at all places. The purpose of Battle of Tebuk was also to punish this governor. Hence, the Prophet ﷺ started preparations for this battle, but he encountered many difficulties. Although hypocrites had suffered defeat at all occasions, yet they increased their underground activities. They built a masjid called Masjid al-Dirar near Masjid Quba to hatch their conspiracies. They requested the Prophet ﷺ to lead a prayer there. The Prophet ﷺ said, I'm busy in the preparation for the Battle of Tebuk now. I shall do it on my return from there. However, Allah informed the Prophet ﷺ about the intentions of the hypocrites. Hence, the Prophet, on his way back to Medina from Tebuk, sent Ammar bin Yasir radiyallahu anhu and a few other companions to demolish this masjid. Details of this is given in Surah Tawbah, verse 107 and 108. And those hypocrites who built a masjid to harm, to conspire against Islam, to split the believers and to make a refuge for him who fought against Allah and his messenger in the past. And they will swear that their intention is good, and Allah bears witness that they are indeed the liars. O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you should never stand in this masjid for praying. The masjid whose foundation was laid from the very first day on piety, that means Masjid Quba, has more right that you stand there to pray. In this masjid there are men who love to clean and purify themselves fully, and Allah loves those who make themselves clean and pure. The other difficulty was that the weather at that time was extremely hot. Moreover, the dates were ripe and ready to be harvested. People were suffering from shortage of food and badly needed this fruit to survive. In spite of all these difficulties, the Prophet ﷺ decided to face the enemy in their land. He openly announced to make preparations for this battle and advised to donate for it generously. Surah Tawbah was revealed to motivate Muslims for this battle and for the donations. For example, Surah Tawbah verse 41 says, "Do go forth whether you are light, that means being healthy, young, etc., or heavy, being old, etc., and fight hard with your wealth and lives in the path of Allah. This is better for you if you understand it. Hence, don't delay it." Also in Surah Tawbah verse 88, "But Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and those who believed with him strive very hard with their wealth and lives, and all good things are for such people, and they will be successful." Another verse in Surah Tawbah verse 91, "There is no blame on those who are weak or ill or have nothing to spend for jihad, as long as they are sincere to Allah and His Messenger. There is no ground to blame such good doers, and Allah is very forgiving, most merciful." Since there were not enough rights, hence some sincere believers could not participate in the battle, as mentioned in Surah Tawbah verse 92. "And there is no blame on those who came to you to provide them a ride," that means provide them horse or camel to ride. "You said to them, 'I don't find any ride for you.' They returned, and their eyes were overflowing with tears, since they had nothing to spend for jihad." That's why the Prophet ﷺ said to the companions during this battle, "There are some people in Medina who get same reward as you do when you travel through a valley or a highway." The companions humbly asked, "How can they get the same reward when they are sitting in Medina?" The Prophet ﷺ said, "Since their valid excuse has held them there." This is in Muslim. However, some hypocrites also participated in the battle for spying and to create problems for the Muslims. Lots of detail about these hypocrites is given in Surah Tawbah. Donation for the Battle of Tabuk. The companions did compete with each other in making donations. For example, Umar radiallahu anhu brought half of his belonging as a donation and left other half for his family, hoping that he will beat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu this time. After a short time, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu came with his donation. The Prophet ﷺ asked him, "How much did you leave for your family?" Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu replied, Allah and His Messenger are enough for my family. On hearing this, Umar radiallahu anhu decided that he will never compete with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu in future. Usman bin Affan radiallahu anhu donated 200 camels with saddles and 200 ounces of silver. Then he donated 100 camels with saddles. After this, he brought 1,000 dinars and put it in the lap of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, "From this day, nothing will harm Usman regardless of what he does." This is Tirmizi. Abdurrahman bin Auf donated 200 ounces silver. Similarly, other companions donated very generously. Many women donated their ornaments very eagerly. The hypocrites said tauntingly that they are donating simply to show off. One companion worked all day and received handful of dates as his wages. He gave half of these dates to his family and donated the remaining half in the battle. The hypocrites said to each other secretly, "Will these dates conquer Roman Empire?" The Prophet ﷺ took notice of it and said, "Throw these dates on top of all the donations. These donations will be blessed by these dates." Allah said about these hypocrites in Surah Tawbah verse 79, "Those hypocrites who talk tauntingly or make jeering remarks about the believers who give plenty in charity voluntarily, and mock at the poor believers who find nothing to give in charity except the petty wages they earn. Hence they, the hypocrites, mock at the believers. Allah also mocks at them, and they shall have a painful punishment in the hereafter." Roman army. The Romans had gathered over 40,000 fighters. Their allied Christian tribes also joined them with a huge army, and they were very well equipped. Muslim army. The Muslim army consisted of 30,000 fighters. There was one camel to ride for 18 men turn by turn. In spite of the huge donations, there was shortage of food. Soldiers had to eat leaves of trees during the journey, which made their lips swell. Some camels had to be slaughtered to use the water and fat stored in them. That's why this expedition was called Expedition of Distress. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam appointed Muhammad bin Muslima as in charge of Medina and ordered Ali radiallahu anhu to look after his family. The hypocrites taunted at Ali radiallahu anhu. Hence, Ali radiallahu anhu left Medina and joined the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his journey. The Prophet ﷺ sent Ali back and said to him, "Would it not please you that you will be my successor in the way that Harun alayhi salam was to Musa alayhi salam? However, there will be no prophet after me." The Prophet ﷺ prayed Zohr and Asr together and Maghrib and Isha together during the journey. Sometime he prayed Zohr and Asr at Zohr time and Maghrib and Isha at Maghrib time. Sometimes he prayed Zohr and Asr at Asr time and Maghrib and Isha at Isha time. However, he shortened all his prayers during his stay in Tebuk and offered each salat at its appointed time. Note that he did the same thing during his journey from Medina to Mecca and during his stay in Mecca at the time of the conquest of Mecca. During the journey, some people complained about the shortage of water. The Prophet ﷺ made dua and it rained heavily. The people had plenty of water for their needs and they were happy. The hypocrites said, "It rained because of such and such star." It is narrated in Bukhari, in a Hadith Qudsi, that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Allah informed me that some of you woke up this morning with Iman and some with disbelief." During this journey, the Muslims' army passed through Al-Qura valley of Samud, who used to build their houses by cutting rocks. The companions took water from its well. The Prophet ﷺ told them not to use this water for drinking nor for ablution. Moreover, feed your camels with any dough made by this water. Only drink water from the well from which Prophet Saleh alayhi Islam's she-camel used to drink. According to Hadith, when the Prophet ﷺ passed through the valley of Samud, he said, "Do not enter the houses of these wrongdoers, lest what had happened to them would afflict you. However, if you have to do it, then do it while crying." After this, the Prophet ﷺ covered his head and passed through the valley as fast as he could. It's given in Bukhari. Miracle of Tabuk. When the Muslim army reached near Tabuk, the Prophet ﷺ said, "If Allah wills, you will be at Tabuk spring tomorrow before daybreak. So whosoever reaches there should not touch the water till I arrive there." Mu'az bin Jabal radiallahu anhu said, "When we reached there, we found two men there, and little bit water was flowing in the spring." The Prophet ﷺ asked them, "Have you touched the water?" They said, "Yes." He said what Allah inspired him to say, and then he took little bit of water and washed his hands and face with it and poured it back into the spring. Instantly, lot of water gushed out of the spring, and the people drank it to their fill. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Mu'az, if you were to live long, you will see this area green and full with fruit trees." This is in Muslim. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Inshallah, this topic will continue in next presentation. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.